Hello! Welcome to Capital Sensei. Today, we're going to dive into a topic that's often overlooked when people talk about the greatest investor of our time. We all want to know how to buy stocks like Warren Buffett, but very few ask the equally important question: when does Warren Buffett sell a stock? We'll explore the 3 specific, logical reasons why the Oracle of Omaha decides to part ways with a company. This isn't about market timing or panic selling. It's a masterclass in rational, business-like thinking. And as always, we do our best to answer your questions in the comments section. Investing is a journey, and we all learn from each other. So please, feel free to share your own experiences, your doubts, or any stories you have about your own investment decisions. Your insights help everyone in our community grow a little bit wiser. Now, let's get one of the biggest myths out of the way right from the start. You've probably heard the phrase, Warren Buffett's strategy is to buy and hold forever. His most famous quote on the matter is, "Our favorite holding period is forever." And while that sounds absolute, it's actually a huge oversimplification of his real philosophy. It's more of an ideal, a guiding principle, than a rigid, unbreakable rule. Think of it like getting married. You enter into that commitment with the intention of it lasting forever. That's the goal. But life is complex. Circumstances can change, people can change, and sometimes sticking with that initial commitment becomes the wrong decision for your long-term well-being. Buffett approaches his investments with the same mindset. He buys a stock with the intention of holding it forever, because he's buying into a business he believes can thrive for decades. But he's also a pragmatist. He knows that the world changes, and he's always prepared to reassess. This leads us directly to the first, and arguably most important, reason Buffett will sell a stock. The fundamental story of the business has deteriorated. When you buy a stock using Buffett's approach, you are not buying a lottery ticket. You're not buying a ticker symbol on a screen. You are buying a small piece of an actual operating business. You've done your homework and identified what makes this business special, what gives it its long-term staying power. If those core reasons begin to crumble, the entire foundation of your investment is at risk. Imagine you decide to buy a local, family-owned hardware store. You buy it because it has a stellar reputation. It's the only one in town, and it has a loyal customer base that has trusted it for generations. These are its business fundamentals. Now, what if a massive, big-box home improvement store opens up right across the street, offering lower prices on everything? And on top of that, the city announces a plan to build a new highway that will bypass your street entirely, killing foot traffic. The fundamental reasons you bought that hardware store have been permanently damaged. The business is no longer the great asset it once was. Selling it, even at a loss, might be the smartest move. This is exactly how Buffett thinks about a stock. So what are these fundamentals we're talking about? The key concept for Buffett is a company's economic moat. Just like a medieval castle was protected from invaders by a wide, deep moat filled with water, a great business is protected from competitors by its own kind of moat. This moat could be a powerful brand name, like Coca-Cola. It could be a technological advantage, like Google's search algorithm. Or it could be a network effect, where the service becomes more valuable as more people use it, like with American Express or Visa. A moat protects a company's profits over the long term, but moats are not always permanent. Technology is a powerful force that can drain a moat almost overnight. Think about the newspaper industry. For decades, local newspapers had a seemingly impenetrable moat. They were the only source for local news, classified ads, and community information. Buffett owns several, including a significant stake in the Washington Post. Then, the internet happened. Suddenly, news was available for free, instantly, from thousands of sources. Craigslist completely destroyed the massively profitable classified ads business. The newspaper's moats didn't just shrink, they evaporated. Buffett recognized this fundamental permanent change. He saw that the business he had invested in was no longer the same, and he eventually sold his newspaper holdings, acknowledging that their golden era was over. He didn't sell because the stock price went down. He sold because the underlying business was in an irreversible decline. A more recent and famous example is his investment in IBM. In 2011, Buffett invested over $10 billion in the company. He believed that IBM had a strong moat with its large corporate clients who were sticky, meaning they were unlikely to switch to another provider because of the hassle and cost. However, he underestimated the speed and scale of the shift to cloud computing, led by companies like Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure. He later admitted his analysis was wrong. The competitive landscape had changed in a way he hadn't foreseen. The castle he thought he had bought was being fundamentally challenged by a new technology. So, in 2017 and 2018, he sold his entire position. He didn't hang on, hoping things would turn around. He recognized the business fundamentals had weakened, admitted his mistake, and moved on. The lesson here is crucial. Your decision to sell shouldn't be based on ego. It must be based on a cold, hard assessment of the business reality. The key for you as an investor is to know exactly why you bought a stock in the first place. Don't just buy something because you heard a tip or because it's going up. Do the research. Write down the 3 or 4 key reasons you believe this is a great business that will be more valuable in 10 years. Is it their brand? Their low-cost production? Their unique technology? Keep that list and review it every 6 months or so. If you find that those reasons are no longer valid, then you have a potential reason to sell, regardless of what the stock price is doing at that moment. This brings us to the second major reason Buffett will pull the trigger and sell. He has found a significantly better investment opportunity. This is all about a concept economists call opportunity cost. Every dollar you have invested in stock A is a dollar you cannot invest in stock B. Your money is a finite resource, and your goal as an investor is to put it to its highest and best use. Even a good investment might need to be sold to make room for a truly exceptional one. Buffett has a brilliant way of thinking about this. He tells students to imagine that when they graduate, they get a punch card with only 20 slots on it. That's it, 20 punches for their entire investing lifetime. Each time they make an investment, they have to punch a hole. With such a limited number of choices, you would become incredibly careful, wouldn't you? You would wait for the absolute best ideas. You would do exhaustive research and only swing at the pitches you were certain you could hit out of the park. This mindset forces you to constantly compare your current holdings, not against what you paid for them, but against all the other opportunities available in the market right now. A stock you own might be a perfectly good company that you expect to grow at a respectable rate. But if you discover another, equally safe company that you are highly confident will grow at a much faster rate, it is logically an act of wealth creation to sell the good company and buy the great one. Let's put some simple numbers on it. Suppose you own shares in Solid Company Incorporated. You've analyzed it, and you conservatively expect it to deliver a total return of 9% per year for the next decade. That's a very decent return. But then, through your research, you uncover Superior Company LLC. It has an even wider moat, better management, and you calculate its expected return to be around 15% per year for the next decade. In this scenario, holding on to Solid Company has an opportunity cost of 6% per year. That might not sound like much, but over 10 or 20 years, the power of compounding makes that difference absolutely enormous. It is the rational, wealth-maximizing decision to sell the 9% opportunity to buy the 15% opportunity. It's not about being disloyal to your old stock. It's about being a disciplined allocator of your capital. Of course, there's a big caveat here. The new opportunity has to be significantly better. You don't sell a wonderful business for one that's just marginally better. Why? Because of taxes and transaction costs. When you sell a stock for a profit, you'll likely have to pay capital gains tax, which immediately reduces the amount of money you have to reinvest. So the new idea has to be so good that it can clear that tax hurdle and still offer a much higher future return. Buffett doesn't churn his portfolio for small gains. He's looking for the rare fat pitch. An interesting historical example is Buffett's investment in Freddy Mac in the late 1990s. He made a lot of money on it, and by all accounts, it was a fantastic business at the time. However, he sold his entire stake around the year 2000. He didn't sell because he predicted the 2008 financial crisis, which would nearly destroy the company. He sold simply because he felt the capital could be deployed in other businesses he owned or was looking at, which offered even more compelling returns at that particular time. He sold a good business to concentrate his money in what he believed were even better businesses. So the takeaway is this: you must view your portfolio as a dynamic entity. Your job as the manager of your own money is to ensure it's always working as hard for you as possible. This means periodically looking at your holdings and asking a tough question. If I were starting with all cash today, would I buy this exact same stock at its current price? If the answer is no, because you see much greener pastures elsewhere, then you have your second valid reason to consider selling. And that leads us to the third and final reason Buffett sells a stock. The price has become wildly overvalued. This is when the market's enthusiasm for a company gets way ahead of the underlying business reality. Remember, as an investor, your mantra should be, price is what you pay, value is what you get. The goal is to buy when the price is significantly below the intrinsic value of the business. The flip side of that coin is to consider selling when the price soars to a level that is significantly above that intrinsic value. To understand this, we have to talk about one of the most important concepts from Buffett's mentor, Benjamin Graham, the allegory of Mr. Market. Graham asks you to imagine that you are partners in a private business with a fellow named Mr. Market. Every single day, Mr. Market shows up at your door and offers to either sell you his shares in the business or buy your shares. The catch is that Mr. Market is a manic depressive. Some days, he's gripped by pessimism and fear. He hates the business and is convinced it's going to fail. On those days, he'll offer to sell you his shares for a ridiculously low price. Graham and Buffett say this is your opportunity to buy from him. On other days, Mr. Market is euphoric. He's convinced your little business is the greatest thing since sliced bread and is destined for the moon. On those days, he'll offer to buy your shares from you for an absurdly high price. That is your opportunity to sell to him. Most of the time, his prices are reasonable, and you should just ignore him and focus on running the business. But you should never, ever let his mood swings influence your own judgment. You use his irrationality to your advantage. Selling a stock because it has become massively overvalued is simply taking advantage of Mr. Market when he's in one of his euphoric fits. Let's go back to our hardware store analogy. Let's say your store reliably earns about $100,000 in profit each year. Based on that, you calculate that a fair value for the business is about $1 million. Now imagine a speculative mania sweeps your town, and people suddenly believe that old-timey hardware stores are the next big thing. Mr. Market shows up one day and, in a fit of wild excitement, offers you $5 million for your store. At that price, the investment no longer makes sense from the buyer's perspective. It would take them 50 years of profits just to break even, not even counting inflation. For you, as the seller, It's a fantastic deal. You can sell the business for 5 times what it's rationally worth. Take that $5 million and go buy 5 other equally good businesses that are selling at fair prices. That's how you compound wealth. You are selling the stock not because the business is bad, but because the price being offered is just too good to refuse. A great real-world example is Coca-Cola during the dot-com bubble of the late 1990s. Coke is Buffett's quintessential forever stock. It's a wonderful business with an unparalleled brand. But during that bubble, investor mania pushed its stock price to a price-to-earnings ratio of nearly 50. A PE of 50 means investors were willing to pay $50 for every $1 of the company's annual profit. This was a price that implied decades and decades of spectacular growth, something that was unlikely even for a great company like Coke. Now, Buffett famously didn't sell his massive core holding, partly due to the gigantic tax bill it would trigger. However, in his shareholder letters, he explicitly stated that an investor buying Coke at those high prices in 1998 or 1999 should expect very poor returns for many years to come. And he was right. The stock went sideways for over a decade. He was clearly acknowledging that the price had detached from reality. He has applied this principle to other stocks, like selling some of his shares in the credit rating agency Moody's after its price had recovered dramatically and, in his view, had become overvalued relative to its future prospects. This is often the hardest reason for individual investors to act on. When a stock you own is soaring and everyone is cheering, selling feels like a mistake. The fear of missing out, or FOMO, is incredibly powerful. Every fiber of your being wants to hold on and see how high it can go. But discipline requires you to have an idea of what the business is worth. If the market price travels into what you consider fantasy land, it's time to be the rational one and take the money that Mr. Market's euphoria is offering you. So now that we know the 3 main reasons Buffett does sell, it's just as important to understand what are definitively not good reasons to sell a stock. Acting on these is how most people lose money in the market. The first bad reason to sell is simply because the stock price went down. A price drop on its own tells you nothing about the underlying business. If you did your homework and you still believe the business is a great long-term enterprise with a strong moat, then a lower stock price is a gift. It's Mr. Market in his depressive state, offering you a bargain. It's an opportunity to buy more, not a signal to sell. You wouldn't sell your house just because there was a temporary slump in the real estate market, would you? If it's a good house in a good neighborhood, you'd hold on, confident in its long-term value. The second bad reason to sell is the opposite. Just because the stock price went up and you have a profit. So many investors have a target in mind, like, I'll sell when I'm up 20%. This is a terrible strategy. It's like a gardener who cuts their flowers and waters their weeds. If you have a truly wonderful business in your portfolio and it's compounding its value year after year, and its stock price is just keeping pace with that value creation, selling it is one of the biggest mistakes you can make. Your goal is to find these great companies and hold them for as long as they remain great. Letting your winners run is how serious wealth is built. And the third, and perhaps most common, bad reason to sell is because of market noise. This means selling because of a scary headline in the news, a talking head on a financial channel yelling about a coming crash, or a hot tip from a friend to get out now. These are all emotional triggers, not rational reasons. Buffett famously says to be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. This is the exact opposite of reacting to the daily news cycle. Your decisions to buy or sell should be based on your own quiet, rational analysis of the business, completely insulated from the noise and panic of the crowd. So, let's tie it all together. The Buffett approach to selling isn't complicated, but it does require discipline and a business owner's mindset. It boils down to 3 logical situations. First, you sell when the business itself has fundamentally and likely permanently weakened. Its protective moat has been breached. Second, you sell when you find a demonstrably superior place to invest your capital, an opportunity so good that it justifies paying the taxes and making the switch. And third, you sell when Mr. Market, in a fit of euphoria, offers you a price for your shares that is far, far above the business's intrinsic value. Notice that none of these reasons have anything to do with what the market is going to do next week or next month. They have everything to do with the long-term value of the business you own. Selling in this framework is not a market timing activity. It's a value assessment activity. It's the mirror image of your buying process. You should have clear, well-thought-out reasons for buying a stock, and you should demand equally clear and rational reasons for selling it. Adopting this mindset is transformative. It frees you from the emotional roller coaster of daily market fluctuations. It turns you from a speculator, gambling on price movements, into a genuine business owner, focused on the long-term health and value of your assets. This, more than anything else, is the true secret to investing like Warren Buffett.